Hello there and welcome back to my YouTube channel. My name is Deepa Robbins from DeeZinesByD, and today I have another Make the Cards challenge post for you. Now this one is a sketch challenge and I'm going to be using a bunch of inks, stencils, and a very nice embossing folder to create this card for you today. So as I said, it is a sketch challenge. I will show you the sketch post soon. I encourage you to head on over to www.makethecardschallenge.com and check out this blog post. Go ahead and check out the design inspiration from all of the designers. Make your own card and link it up for a chance to be featured as the card designer of the week. So here is the post. It's a very simple sketch and actually makes for a really nice card. So I decided to use the PinkFresh Studio Anemone Magic stamps, die, and stencils. So it does have a coordinating washi tape, which I'll show you very quickly here. I've used it in previous videos, which I will link at the end of this video. But for now, I am just going to be using the stamps, die, and stencils. And a important thing to note about this stamp set is that it doesn't fit in your regular MISTI. So I'm going to show you here, it doesn't actually fully fit in the well of the stamp positioner there. So this is a different way you can use it. As you can see, I've taped down my stamp positioner from the inside and I've left it so that cover, that lid that opens and closes, is still usable. I've taped down my piece of cardstock, put on my stamp on the outside of the stamp positioner, and I'm going to be using the outside of the stamp positioner to stamp this image. Now, I have to admit I wasn't the smart one that came up with this thing, but I did notice that the designers from PinkFresh Studio use this method and it works great. So now I'm going to go ahead and start using the stencils to color in this image. Now there's 6 stencils, and what I'm trying to show you here is that there are 2 flower stencils for like the bigger areas of the flower, and then 2 detail stencils coordinating with those flowers. So that's what I've got here. And then there's 2 more stencils, which are the open area of the leaves and the detail portion of the leaves. So I'm starting with one of the open areas of the flowers. So I'm going to be using Pink Diamond by Altenew. So all the inks that I'm going to be using for the stenciling are by Altenew. I've mentioned before, I tend to do this because I have the complete set of inks for this company, and I do like them a lot. And the good thing about this stencil set is that, as I said, there's 2 different stencils for the open areas of the flowers. So you can choose to use 2 different colors like I did here. I used the pink on one and I used the peach on the other. So that's the result that you get there. And then what you want to do is come in now with the detailed portion of the flowers. So I'm using a darker pink here, and then I'm going to use like an orangey, peachy color, the sun-kissed color as well. So it's important that the 2 colors that you have kind of coordinate. So if I'm going to use a pink, I'm going to use a peach, or I'm going to use a purple or something like that, because some of the detailed portions overlap with the other color of flower. As you can see here, I have some pink on the peach, right? So you got to make sure that your colors kind of coordinate in that sense. As for the leaves, you're free to use whatever colors you want. I decided to go with a nice deep blue. So I used the Altenew Ultramarine Ink. This is a set of 3 inks. And then for the darkest blue, which I think comes from the Altenew line, would be the Sapphire ink. It is a really deep bluey blue. So I used that for the detail portion of the leaves. Now once that's complete, I'll go ahead and show you my final product. That is super beautiful. That dark blue just makes the pink and the peach kind of pop there. So now I'll just line up this die. If you haven't seen this set before, it has one die that basically lines up with all of the different images, and you put it through your die cutting machine in one go and it cuts everything all out. So this one I think has what, 6 pieces. And that all gets cut out in one go. So it's really a time saver. So now I've got a 6 3/4 by 4 3/4 piece of cardstock, which is going to end up making a 5 7 by 7 inch card. And I'm showing you this embossing folder by We Are Memory Keepers. And I kind of just did some partial embossing. So I embossed one half of it and then the other half, making sure not to put the entire folder through. Otherwise, you're going to get like a line in the middle of your cardstock. And once I completed that, I had a bit of a line where it wasn't embossed, which is okay because based on our design, we're going to end up covering it up with this little gray tag that we're making right here. So I basically cut to the size that I want that's going to fit this flower image and made the little tails at the bottom. And now I'm going to add that flower image with some foam squares to give it a bit of dimension. So I'll get that on there, and I have it hanging off a bit. I could have maybe left that, but I decided that I wanted to keep the shape of that little flag and cut it off. So I didn't waste this portion. I actually cut it off, and just to make the image just a bit more fluid, as if there's other pieces coming onto this gray piece of cardstock, I decided to add this on in like different corners to kind of just fill up more of that gray area and show more of the floral image. So I'll just cut off that little overhanging bit there, and that's the little flag piece you get. Now, according to the sketch, I have this like line that kind of goes behind. It kind of makes like the flag hang like a drape. So I decided to use some Sizzix Gold Mirror cardstock, and I've marked off the edges of that flag. So basically as far as I need those little pieces of cardstock to go. And this is actually, I didn't cut a strip. You can cut a strip. That's the easiest thing to do, but it's just a leftover piece that I have from like the negative pieces of a die cut piece that I had left. So I'm just using scraps for that. Now I'm going to use this PinkFresh Studio Hello Phrase Builder die set. So I'm just using the lovely piece here, and it actually has a shadow die as well, but I'm not using that. I'm just going to use the actual script portion. And I'm using this Artist-tac Dry Adhesive. These come in sheets, and basically it's got this dry adhesive on the back. So you stick your cardstock on top of it, smush it down so it picks up the adhesive, and you've basically created your own sticker there. Now I know they have other products where you basically stick them onto the back of your cardstock before you die cut, and then you take off the release paper to release a sticky portion that creates a sticker as well, but I always forget to add this to the back of my cardstock before I die cut. So I've opted to use this dry adhesive instead. So I've taken 4 layers of white cardstock. The top layer is Sizzix Ivory Sparkle Glitter cardstock. So I've created like a nice thick sentiment here, which is going to give you a bit more dimension on your card as well. Not that I need more. I mean, I have enough with the embossing folder and all the foam squares. But now I have to complete that sentiment. So I have this set from the Ton. It's called Peony Notes, and it's actually one of their older stamp sets. I'm not sure if it's still available, but it's worth looking up. So I'm going to use this to do some heat embossing, and I'm actually just stamping this out on the same colored blue cardstock as the background, and I'm using some Hero Arts white fine detail embossing powder to complete the sentiment. So I've got this here on one big strip, but I'm going to end up cutting it in half here, and then I'm going to stick it around my big die cut lovely sentiment there. So what I'm going to do is just kind of mark the edges of those L's, and I'll cut off the little pieces, and then what I'm going to do is glue down those little edges to the die cut. So here I'm adding that glue. So that Barely Arts glue is perfect for this. It has a nice fine tip, so you can lay down a thin piece or a thin strip of glue there. And then I'll just stick that on, and you see it creates a nice sentiment in between the 2 L's of that lovely piece. So now I'll do the same thing with that the day sentiment, and I cut it off on a bit of an angle there. And now I can kind of put the rest of this together. So I've added some more foam squares on the back of this little flag, which I'm going to add now. So this covers up that unembossed area. And then I'm going to add the lovely, and I'll use the liquid glue for this because it doesn't really need to be popped up because the lovely has a lot of dimension to it already. Now, in order to get this to stick down tight, you're going to need to add some weight. So I put an acrylic block on top of it, especially because it's going to be sticking on top of that 3D piece there that I made with the embossing folder. So to finish off the design, I'm using some black diamond LolliBeads. As I've mentioned before, these are nail art gems, and I will link them in the description and on my blog. And these are just basically finishing off the pattern. I didn't want to use white or like an AB gem because I wanted the black to kind of complement the darker blue. And then for the rest of the embellishments, I'm using this diamond crystal LolliBead gems because they stand out on top of the darker blue color in the background. So that's how I used the gems to create contrast. So now I have some more of this. This was actually like a rough piece that I did initially. And when I did this, I put my folder fully through my die cut machine. So it created this like huge line in the middle of my piece of cardstock. So I decided to do that again, and that's why I said when you do this, make sure you do partial embossing so that you're not pushing the entire folder through and creating that horrible line. So anyways, I've added the embossed pieces to the opposite corners of the inside of the card here, and now I'm just going to add all these extra little pieces that we cut out in the beginning. And I'll be popping up some of the pieces with some foam, and some of them I'll be sticking them right down underneath to just create a bit more dimension and have a bit more flow to the card. And this is just going to decorate the two opposite corners and tie in the design from the front to the inside of the card. And this set works perfectly for this because it has enough pieces that you can decorate the front of your card and the inside of your card. So this set, I would have to say, makes card making just that much more easier. So now for my sentiment, I'm going to be using the Mama Elephant Inside Birthday Messages stamp set. I picked a sentiment and I'm going to be using VersaFine Clair Bluebell ink to just stamp this out freehand with an acrylic block. As long as you line it up with some type of measuring piece like the mat I have underneath, it should stamp out fine. So this is the final product that you get, and I have to say this turned out way better than I thought it would. I really like how the colors come together. Those pinks and peaches come together with the blue, and I really like the sketch. Like, I would have never thought of just doing this on my own. That's why doing these challenges are great, because it really gives you new ideas and inspires you to create different cards that you normally wouldn't think of. So, as I mentioned in the beginning of my video, go ahead and check out the Make the Cards Challenge blog post and go ahead and link up your own creation. And if you liked my video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you can be notified of any new videos that I do post. And if you get a chance, go ahead and check out my blog. I have a ton of inspiration on there that you might want to look at and get inspired by. Other than that, I hope you all have a good day, and I hope to see you all join the challenge. Have a great day, guys. Bye.